What's up everybody, it's Wyvern here, and in today's video we're going to be taking another look at an off-meta pick for the Ferocious Cup. Today we're going to be taking a look at Garchomp. Now Garchomp, I know a lot of people probably still don't even have themselves a Gibble yet. I still haven't seen one in the wild. I had to trade for mine, but I used Garchomp in my Tempest Cup, I used it in my Kingdom Cup, and I'll be using it again here because I do have one in the Great League level, and I want to take advantage of that. Now, it's definitely a unique option. It's kind of a bit of a glass cannon Pokemon, so you have to be really careful with that. It's going to get deleted by anything with Ice, Dragon Breath, or Fairy type moves. So in this meta, you really have to look out for Charm, and then obviously you have to look out for that Shelgon as well. It's going to beat Minun, Skuntank, Raichu, and Alolan Raichu. Doniphan running Counter, Doniphan running Charm will beat it. It also beats Nidoking, Nidoqueen, Lairon, Aggron, and most of the rest of the Electric and Fire types. It's going to beat that Alolan Marowak as well. But however, like I said, it is going to lose hard to anything with Charm, Ice, or Shelgon. In this meta, Water Gun is going to hit it hard, but it's not devastating like the rest of them, and it can get to a charge move before it's taken out. The ideal moveset on Garchomp is going to be Mud Shot, and then you can run it with one move. I'm going to be running mine with two moves. In this video, I do have one move on it, but I will be buying another one before Ferocious Cup comes around. But you're going to want to be running Earthquake and Outrage. Don't even look at that Fire Blast. It doesn't get Save type attack bonus, and it's not energy efficient either. So let's dive into the footage, guys, and see how Garchomp does in the Ferocious Cup. So we're going to be going up against Who Knows Not in these videos. A guy from my Go Stadium lobby decided to run a few Ferocious battles with him. We're going to be leading with Garchomp in this first matchup since it was super effective against about half of his team. I thought it would be a pretty positive lead, and it does end up working out for us here. We get that positive lead versus the Minun. He's going to go ahead and switch out real quick, but keep in mind we did get a bit of energy charged up on that Garchomp. We're going to come in with our Raichu, and I know it does have Thunder on it. I will likely end up TMing that to Wild Charge before my Ferocious Cup tournament, but I just have a really hard time TMing Legacy Pokemon. I know it's not the best move on it, but it's also one you can't get back, and it's my only one, and you never know if they're going to buff it down the line or something like that, so I will probably end up TMing it to Wild Charge, but regardless, we are going to be going for that Thunder here. He is going to end up shielding that, so that's something I'm going to note down the line. I might try and shield bait him a little bit. We're going to opt not to shield here one more time. I know he didn't charge up enough energy for a Hydro Pump. It does end up just being a Bubble Beam, and that is not going to hit us that hard. Now we're going to overcharge a little bit here and then try and shield bait him. Unfortunately, this ends up backfiring because you'll see we aren't able to get all of these icons. I think we miss a couple. We do get the Excellent. Nope, we don't. Rip. And then he ends up not shielding that. So that's one. We tried to shield bait, but we actually ended up shield baiting ourselves. Had we gone for the Thunder, we would have been able to knock out that Suicune. So that was unfortunate. We are going to shield there just because I know I can get to one more Thunder before he's able to knock us out. Unfortunately, he is going to shield this one as well. So he is down both of his shields now, but we completely misplayed that whole shield bait situation and kind of got fleeced by it a little bit. So we could have been out on top, but instead we're going to be starting at a disadvantage now, down one Pokemon. We do have a one shield advantage on him though, since we're going to let that Raichu go down instead of shield it. We come in with the Umbreon to finish off the Suicune, and we're going to get a bit of a switch glitch here. So we're just going to overcharge rather than switch out. I'm not bringing in Garchomp versus Suicune since that is not a good matchup. So we're going to let that Hydro Pump go through. I honestly was expecting a Bubble Beam, but Hydro Pump still not even dealing half damage to our tank that is Umbreon. So you see there why it's at the top of this meta. It's just such a strong tanky Pokemon. We are able to down that with a Dark Pulse, and then he's going to come back in with the Minun. We are going to pop off one Foul Play on it. I forgot that he doesn't have a shield here, so I was trying to get his last shield out of him. Unfortunately, I miscounted his shields there. I know that's something really basic, but it was kind of late at night when I did these battles, and I just wasn't thinking straight. So we're going to be coming in with the Garchomp now. He's going to sub into his Grand Bowl to try and counter that. Unfortunately for him, we have an Earthquake charged up. Garchomp is a very strong Pokemon, and you see here what an Earthquake does to a full health Grand Bowl. So Charm not able to do anything to us there because we were able to Earthquake it first. I think he got one or two Charms off, and it did a good chunk of damage, but we're going to shield there. Don't even need to. Garchomp is able to absorb electric attacks very well, but regardless, we're going to burn that shield just because we have it. And then we're going to be getting to one more Earthquake to finish off the match. So Garchomp in this match definitely carrying it for us. And there you see that's just going to be able to down the Minun. On to match 2. After the success of Garchomp in match 1, I'm expecting that Granbull lead from him, so we go with the Aggron. Unfortunately, I guessed wrong, and we're in a negative matchup versus the Suicune. it's going to be hitting us pretty hard with that Hydro Pump if it's able to get it off, so we have to be really careful with that. We do have a Thunder on here as a bit of a surprise pick. We are able to get that one more Smackdown in for that bit of piggybacking there. We do decide to shield this. I'm expecting it to be a Hydro Pump, and it does end up being that. So now we're going to overcharge just a little bit, not go for that Stone Edge, but go for the Thunder. Once again, not super energy efficient, but kind of a surprise pick. I don't think Aggron will end up making my final team. I just wanted to test it out a bit. I am kind of surprised how much damage the Smackdown is doing to Suicune, with it not being very effective and with it being a pretty tanky Pokemon. At this point, I'm expecting a Shield Bait. So unfortunately, I should have shielded here. I'm expecting it to be a Bubble Beam, but it ends up being another Hydro Pump, and it is able to take down that Aggron. We would have otherwise been able to finish it with Smackdowns and have a pretty healthy Aggron, so that's a mistake on my part. I just kind of guessed wrong. At this point, I know this is going to be a Bubble Beam. A Hydro Pump wouldn't even do half damage to us, but I do know it's going to be a Bubble Beam since he doesn't have enough energy, so we don't have to worry about shielding there. And at this point, we're just going to farm this down. Unfortunately, he is able to get to one more Bubble Beam before that, but there's still no reason in using a Charge move on it, so we're just going to let that through. No reason in wasting a shield on it either. So now we see the Suicune go down, and we're going to be trying to hit whatever comes in with the Foul Play as soon as he decides to sub in. So there goes the Foul Play. It ends up being a Skuntank, which is one I haven't played against too much, so this is a bit of an interesting pick. Now, I do make a bit of a mistake here. We're going to sub out into the Garchomp, give up switch priority. It does have a positive matchup versus the Skuntank, but unfortunately he's going to come in with the Grand Bull, and you see just how much damage Charm does to Garchomp. So you guys see what I mean when I say be careful using Garchomp against Charm users. You have to look out for the Grand Bulls, the Alolan Ninetales, the Delcatties, and most of the Donphans are going to be running counter, but if they have Charm, look out for that as well. So now we're going to be coming in with the Umbreon, and we're going to be hitting it with a Foul Play. He has no shields left at this point since he shielded our Earthquake, but it's not going to be hitting it that effective. Grand Bull is meant to be an Umbreon counter, so it's just going to be hitting us with that Charm, and it is going to be able to take down the Umbreon. It doesn't even matter that we're able to get one more Charge move. This is just an absolutely terrible matchup for us, and that will end up costing us the match. So now he's just able to down us with Charm. Doesn't even need to use a Charge move. Match 3, we're going to lead with Raichu. I was expecting the Suicune lead. It didn't end up happening, but we do get a bit of a positive matchup here as well, because Brick Break is going to be hitting Alolan Sandslash 4 times effective. So we're just going to be going straight for that. No reason to overcharge or Shield Bait or anything like that, because Brick Break is just all around the better move to go for here, both damage and energy-wise. We are going to get that first shield out of him, but he's still not switching out. He is going to switch, or stick in here, rather. We're going to shield what's coming through just because I know we have such a positive matchup, and we need to keep the Raichu as close to full health as possible since he likely has that Suicune in the back. So he is going to be switching there as we're going for that Brick Break. So he is going to switch into that Mine-In. Now keep in mind we do have Garchomp in the back. So right after this Brick Break goes through, we are going to be switching into our Garchomp. We also have Aggron in the back. I didn't bring Umbreon this match. I brought the Aggron to try and deal with his Granbull, since he brought that the first 2 matchups. We're going to opt not to shield here just because you'll see Electric not really doing anything to Garchomp at all. It definitely does a decent chunk of damage, but you really don't have to worry about it. On this Mine-In, we are just going to be able to farm this down, try and charge up as much energy as possible. Now, something you should note is Outrage takes 2 less Mud Shots to get to than Earthquake does. So you'll see when we knock out his Mine-In, his Granbull comes in. Note, we are able to get off 1 Earthquake, but if we had Outrage and Earthquake, we would have been able to Shield Bait with an Outrage and then pop off an Earthquake because we would have had enough energy for both. So that's just one thing to note, and why I will be buying a second move on this Garchomp before I bring it to a tournament. Since you'll see here, we are going to be going for that Earthquake, but he remembers what Earthquake does to Granbull, and he is going to shield that. And now you see we almost have enough energy for another Earthquake before we get knocked out, but we don't. And there you see what Charm is able to do to a Garchomp, so that's something you definitely have to watch out for, like I was talking about. We don't get in any matches versus Shogun today, but I can assure you Dragon Breath is devastating against it. We're going to come in with the Aggron to try and finish off his Granbull. He's going to switch in to the Alolan Sandslash, and we are going to follow suit with our Raichu, since we know Brick Break is going to be hitting that pretty hard. We're going to burn our last shield there, overcharge just a little bit, and then go for Brick Break, because I know this should knock it out. If not, we'll be closer to another Brick Break, but if it does, then we'll have more energy going into that Granbull matchup. So it does end up knocking it out. We're going to see the Granbull come in, and we are just going to be going straight for that Thunder. Charm almost knocks us out, but he's not able to get to a charge move since it charges energy so slow, and Thunder should be able to finish this Granbull off. No Aggron necessary. So that's Garchomp for you. One thing I forgot to mention in the opener is that it does win 62% of its matchups. So it's not like some of my off-meta picks that win 40%, 50%, or even less than that. It definitely has a high winning percentage. You just have to utilize it very carefully because it will either heavily win matchups or heavily lose matchups. And if you get it in a bad lead scenario, it's just going to get deleted and you're essentially going to be playing against your opponent with 2 versus 3 Pokemon. So if you misutilize Garchomp, it will cost you greatly, but if you utilize it well, then it will give you a huge leg up on your opponent. So it's definitely an off-meta Pokemon that you have to be careful with if you are planning on running it. But if you're able to utilize it well, I think it can give you a great advantage over your opponent, which is why I do think I will be running it, at least in my Go Stadium, if not in my in-person tournament as well. But it will definitely be on one, if not more, of my Ferocious Cups teams. That is going to do it for today's video. Thank you for checking it out. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to like and subscribe. And until next time, guys, I'm Wyvern.